Hello everybody, hope you're doing well. Welcome to the first video of Tuesday, being recorded on a Monday night, basically because, hey, I don't want to give you five videos in one day. Yeah, I don't want to do that. This video is going over some top tips for the Lunar New Year Incursions and Solo event. There is a spreadsheet that is coming, but I am working at the moment. It's going to take a little time. I'm going to work on it tomorrow and hopefully have this as the second or third video of the day, giving you incursion options. But of course, I'll be going over some of the details of these 5 tips just for the video's purpose. It's focused on incursions and as well the Golden Dragon event. So let's get into it. The first tip is do as many of the difficulties in the various sectors in incursions as possible. You might be thinking, why? What's the point? Well, did you know you can get a load of incursion artifacts? Some people know, some people don't. If you go in and do some of these particular grinds, this may be a very easy time for you to get a lot of incursion artifacts, which I've got right there. I've got 191,000. A lot of it I've just got from doing up to zones 15 of sector 1, just in this. And that's sector 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 yet to do. So by doing that, you probably say to me, what's the point? Well, do them because you get rewards. Of course, there will be a limit as to how much of the 7-star for those that, of course, grab that. But do bear in mind, we do have a reset of 25 days. And if you've got 400k banked, then you don't need to do incursions again. It's already banked, so you don't need to do the effort. The same thing when it comes to grabbing some of the other things, which could be quite beneficial as well. Whether or not it's awakening gem crystals, could be desperate for ISO to get some 4-star hero crystal. But do bear in mind, you get a lot of free shards just by doing it. So just by me doing sector 1, yeah, I've picked up a lot of lower stuff, but as a non-spending player, it's important to grab as much ISO as possible. One of the biggest problems I have at the moment is ISO. Grab that. Get some gold from doing incursions. Do as many incursions as possible, and it all adds up, and it's all pretty helpful. Tip number 2 is all about timers. Timers are so important, especially because you're like, right, well, I might want to use the best champion for this. Well, Kabam have got you sorted this time, as you can have a 5-minute reset. So if you're starting off, and this is something that I do recommend, is when you're starting off, start strong. Especially when you're like, right, well, my champions that I've built, it's all about buff cornucopia. Well, I didn't get that when I started in. The first one that I got to choose was not that. Well, exit out. Wait 5 minutes. Go back in again. See if it's that. You don't have to follow that process, but it can be quite important to start yourself off in the strongest foot. I'm a personal fan of using either prowed degeneration or draining degeneration for infamous Iron Man. But that might not be available to me. So I might wait 5 minutes, go back in again, and start off in the best possible way. And have the best hacks that I possibly want and have based on the rotation. The same thing with Onslaught. You might want to start off with draining degeneration. You might want to start off with something different, depending on the champion and the fit. The third tip is experimentation. Now, we've slightly touched upon it in a previous tip, but this goes a little bit further into that particular setup. So when it comes to in-game, you might be like, okay, well, I want to set up in a certain way and have certain things around a certain champion. I'll give you an example. I've been experimenting around with Hulk and stun duration increasing, as well as some other types of ones. It could be a case I want to do, debuff upgrade stun, and also something like special enhancement, debuff upgrade, not damage over time, but any kind of other things like attack enhancement, basics, special augmentation, stuff like that. Now, this isn't exactly the setup. I do just like playing around and experimenting when it comes to incursions, but I do like using Scarlet Witch. Now, we are in sector 1, which we'll talk about. That kind of boils into something at a later tip. You might be wondering, what are you doing, Rich? This is a bit strange in sector 1. We'll come back to that. But configurations are important. If you've got a champion that poisons, then you can play into stuff when it comes to debuff damage over time. Got a champion that's got buffs? Well, buff enhancements, buff cornucopia. Look at the buffs, look at the hacks, look at what you can give, and as well what can be amplified. Angela works great with the content. So you could be like, I start Odin off, I then have buff cornucopia, buff upgrade fury, and a few other things as well, like attack surge. This is largely why I've got Scarlet Witch, because she gains buffs. Really nice buffs. So it's a case of like just playing around with things. Also, look at champions that have certain parts of their abilities. You've got Guillotine, who has a crit. As soon as she crits, you get something back from it, or she kind of plays into it. Deathless Guillotine, I think, degens. So again, that could be something that's quite important to go, right, well, I'll do a enhancement crit rating. Play about with these things. The same thing that if a champion plays into armor rating to improve stuff when it comes to damage application, further damage, stuff like that, then look to that. I think it's quite important as well to kind of figure out where there's limitations. One thing that I personally like is Poisonous Truth. Poisonous Truth has True Strike and True Sense. This can be very important to give you an interaction and a counter to something like Mist or Auto Block and Evade. So look to these things where you have limitations of what you can improve. Your greatest strength, your greatest weakness then becomes your greatest strength because you've got something like Poisonous Truth. There's also other options. I'm not just saying that these are the quintessential ones, but look to really where your limitations and weaknesses are, what you can amplify and improve, or look at what you've got that's good and build on that and add more to it. But we'll do a video that kind of goes over that in a better detail. Tip number 4 is all about the Golden Dragon event. This one is actually really nice and doable, but it's up to you how you approach. Whether or not you spend a lot of gold in order to get some of the points, which by the way, you'd have to spend 10 million gold. So get that leveling up on for those particular champions. Also, there is another approach, which is to win fights using Gold Pool, DragonMan, or champions that share a synergy with them. So your choice is to take some of the various champion options, and there's various like there's Gold Pool right there, and I can imagine if you want to take any of these champions, take a 6-star or 7-star version and just auto fight through Road to Labyrinth. That's up to you. It depends how you want to take this on. You could do arena, you could do just standard questing in any kind of like shape or form. I don't know if incursions would count, but we'll have to see. And of course, by doing that, you will get yourself 100,000 points by defeating a target a time. Winning is 50,000 points. So if you are looking to just like auto fight it through Road to Labyrinth, it may be your shout. Like I can't tell you how to kind of like how you want to play the game, but there is an option in Act 1.5. There is a Deadpool Xforce. It is a 3 energy target, 1, 2, 3 to get to it, and that's an option. That's 100k points a time. Of course, that will mean 100 fights of that, which of course will be 100 times 3. It will be 300 energy spend. Look, I'm not saying you should go out of your way to do it, because it's a method. I probably would say doing a mixture between gold spend, which you can spend about 5 mil easy, and then maybe doing, burning some energy in that, or going to do some duels. It's up to you how you feel you want to approach it, but it's a pretty doable type thing. And my final tip is down in incursions, and it's to do with the lower sectors, because you could be saying to yourself, like, Rich, when I'm going to that screen, it says like when I'm setting up, I can't kind of choose like a higher team to go in, and like, yeah, I get it. You can see here like the team rating and stuff, and like what's recommended and other things like that when it comes to the lower sectors. We do know that when you get in and you can change out your champions, you can take out some of the lowers and put in higher champions for it. That's why you can see right here, like I was gated, I was restriction of 15k going into sector 1, but by the time, as you can see here, I'm at room 15, I got 7 stars in, which seems a bit bizarre, but it's not, because you can switch it out for it. So even if you feel like, oh, I've got to do all the lower sectors with kind of lower champions, no, you don't. You can actually switch them up. When you get to these change nodes, you can see you can swap champions out. Now, I'm happy with the team that I've got, and of course I'm going up against some very easy opponents, so look, I'm in final zone, so it's all good, man. And you can see like it's pretty easy with my rank 3 7-star just absolutely dominating through that particular content. But there we go, that is that. You can see that's pretty easy to do, pretty easy to grab shards, ISO, lunar crystals without having to do any kind of effort. But the point I was kind of making with this final tip is, As you can see, when you put in some of the kind of like higher hitting champions you have on your roster, it is pointing to sector 5. And as you bring it down to like sectors 2, 3, I can do it on 4, but 3 and 2, they don't fit in. So the tip is indeed put the lowest amount with the highest there, go to champion select, and then select some of these 7 stars, and you'll be able to blitz it without even having any effort. And you get to train, and you get to also educate yourself on some of the hacks. In any case, that has been the video. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll be doing some incursion top champions later on today.